We're going to talk about how repositioning the reed on the mouthpiece can affect the response and resistance of the reed, and even young players can benefit from experimenting with moving the reed up and down and side to side on the mouthpiece. So here's my window of the mouthpiece, and here's my reed. So if we can see on the reed, the thickest part of the reed is usually in a V or a U shaped and below. And on the vamp, the sides and tip of the reed are usually the thinnest part. So this thicker part is going to be a little harder. It's going to feel harder. There's going to be more resistance if this part is vibrating. The clarinet makes sound when the reed vibrates on the two side rails and the top of the mouthpiece. And how thick the part of the reed that is touching those places is one of the determining factors for how the reed responds. So if I'm playing on a reed and it feels a little bit too soft, then if you see at the top here, if you move it up just slightly, or slightly even more, then you're going to be getting closer to that thick part of the reed. So the reed is going to vibrate a little bit differently because it's a harder part of the reed touching the top rail there. Usually we put the reed on so that the tip of the reed is centered on that part of the mouthpiece, but we can move it up just ever so slightly past or ever so slightly lower on that rail. This will make it feel softer, this will make it feel harder. Similarly, the two sides of the reed here. If this side of the reed is harder because of the manufacturing process not being even, or because of just a naturally occurring vein in the reed, or some other variation. If this is too hard, moving it this way, angling the reed this way slightly on the mouthpiece is going to change your points of contact. It can still be vibrating along the whole rail of the mouthpiece, but because it's angled, you can see that this right here is where this side of the reed touches the rail in the thicker part. Down here it's touching a little bit lower. So because it's touching lower, there's more of the softer part of the reed vibrating in the window than there is on this side. So it's going to feel softer. It's going to exaggerate that feeling. So it's going to make the reed feel more balanced and vibrate more properly. So just experiment with moving the reed around on your mouthpiece just a little bit. It doesn't have to be very much for you to feel the difference, but if you're playing like this and it just feels hard, try moving it up, tightening the ligature, and playing again. If it feels too hard, you can move it down. Same thing. You can move it a little bit to the side. See how little that is? There's very little difference. And then a little to the side the other way, and that's going to make a difference in how the reed responds too. So when I start a new reed, sometimes I'll just, early in the process, I'll try shifting it a little bit one way or the other. If it sounds better one direction, I'll just put a little dot at the bottom of the reed so I remember which way that reed feels better shifted.